Hello everyone and welcome to today's lecture. What we're going to be doing today for week 12 is going to be character motion with Motion Tweens. And the way we're going to be doing that is we're going to take the character we rigged last week and I'm going to show everyone how to repurpose that as a symbol that can be animated again and again, depending on exactly what you want. So instead of having to redraw that character many times over, we could actually just use moves and rotations to basically make this work. Now this is a simpler rig, so some of the animation will be a little bit limited, but for certain things it can actually work out pretty nicely. This, and combined with some animation techniques that were shown previously, you should hopefully be able to animate a potential show, or at the very least a short, with a little bit less work, depending on how you approach this. So let's take a look at what we're going to be doing today. Okay, so first, as I was saying before, we're going to be taking the rigs, making them into symbols. I'm going to show how to do simple character motion with those. I'm going to be showing you how to make a walk cycle. Hopefully this will give you an idea of how this can be approached. And we're going to make a moving background and then combine the two. So, and then finally, we're going to make it into an SWF. That basically will allow everyone to take the animation that they have and be able to show it to anyone they wish. Of course, if you do want to make it into a video, you can for other people if you want to upload it to YouTube and so on. But we'll focus our efforts more on making it the SWF since it will be a relatively simpler file to deal with. Anyway, so taking a look at what we have for assignment 12, basically it's as I said. Basically, you'll make a procedural background with 5 different elements. That's something I'm going to be showing a little bit later, how you can approach this. And you'll just basically have your character do a simple walk cycle. And this is going to be the main topic of discussion for today. Oh, due date. I will fix that to due date when the time comes. Will be April 22nd. So that is going to be, again, a week and a half from today. Now, one other thing I also want to mention is finals are going to be coming up pretty soon. So one thing I would like everyone to do is start thinking about what you might want to do for your final project. It's one of the reasons why I do want to try and keep this week a little bit simpler so that everyone here could think of the final project. And I will make the specifications for the final project available should anyone wish to give it a think this weekend and so on. So, but anyways, more on that a little bit later. So let's take a look at the rig. So this is again what we've had previously. I'll zoom out so we can see this a little bit easier. So we have our main character, and again she can move around like this. The way that she was basically set up is if I rotate an area, she could basically move back and forth like so. And that's basically the main thing that we wanted to approach with this. So more or less this is what I was hoping we could do. Okay. Now, the big thing we need to do is we need to make it so that this character could be used for animation. Because right now, the way that she's set up, while she can do all this motion, if we want to do more than just this scene, we would have to set up this entire rig over and over and over again. So that's not going to be very efficient. But if we wanted to, and I'm going to teach everyone how to do that today, we could take the layers and basically make it so that we could have our character move in a very particular way for one particular symbol. Now, before we continue, it's my strongest recommendation to take all the pieces that we have here and actually put them into an organized folder or group so that, well, we're not going to have a lot of stuff impeding our view. So I'm going to go to new folder with all that selected, and I'm going to name this character pieces. I'll be honest, you can name yours whatever you wish, and then you could just basically take all these different files and put them right in there. Okay. Now with that set, we can go to the next step and actually make our own symbol for our character. So instead of, again, having to make all that rig system again from scratch, you'll find that this is going to be a lot easier. Okay, so let's give it a try. So first and foremost, you'll want to select the very top of your layer, of all your layers, then the bottom. You can also do it vice versa. Either way will be fine. Just make sure you get all the layers in here. Now once that's done, we will want to go to the next step. Now before that, if you haven't done so already, it would be a good idea to save. And let's give this a try. So the way I usually approach this first is I'm going to right click over here. I'm going to cut my layers. This is why I wanted you to save beforehand, so that we could basically take all the elements at the same time. So it seems like a little bit overkill, but once we get into this, you'll understand why we're doing it this way. So what we'll do next is we're going to go to an option called Insert, and we're going to create ourselves a new symbol. So unlike what we did previously, this is actually going to make a symbol from scratch. So there's nothing that we're going to be adding in. This is going to be a new symbol right from the get-go. And I'm going to call this main character prime. Now the reason why I have this, or you could call character prime if you want to, but the main reason why I'm doing it this way, also make sure it's a graphic, is we're going to take this character once it's done, and we're going to make multiple copies of it. It makes more sense when we see it. So once you put in the name of this, you're going to hit OK. And we're going to go to this little area over here where the layers are. We're going to paste these in place. And bam, there is our character. Although I'll put her a little bit more in the middle because that was just a little bit too off. Yep, there we are. But that's pretty much the long and short of it. So now that we have our main character prime, we can actually make multiple copies of this for future assignments. Now, currently we are in the area where the actual symbol is. So if I want to get out of here to my normal section, I can just hit the back button over here. And yes, my main character is no longer there, but I could actually take the main character prime, although I'm going to get you in good habits. You really want to not bring this over if you can. It'd be best if you just make a copy of this or a duplicate. So I could just click here, right click, duplicate, and I'll call this test. I'm going to hit OK. So now I could take this test and put this over here. Now the purpose of this, once again, is to basically make whatever kind of animation we want. Now something else that's kind of cool about this, if necessary, in this case let's say it's going to be necessary, I can go to the modify, transform, and I could use the flip option, specifically vertical flip, to actually bring this to the other side. And basically make it like so. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have my character basically go in a more standard pose and then basically just do a little bit of a wave. Nothing too fancy, at least for now, but just having the character just raise her hand and maybe just do a quick little wave and such. Now the way that I could do that is I can basically double click my character, and now I'm in the actual area where everything can be modified. And if this is going to be about a 2-second animation, I'm going to have to basically, because I don't want this to be too long, I'm going to need to make sure that all my layers go out for about 2 seconds. By the way, interesting note, since we have to insert the frame for these, hitting F5 is going to save you a ton of time. So make sure that you can see your frames and just hit F5 for as long as you need this to be visible. So this is going to be a little bit of time, and it is going to look a little weird at first. But the reason why I didn't set these up right away is because we always want to make sure that our character is out here as long as we need it to be here. So, oops, that went a little bit too far. And I need to find my F5 again. And again, the reason why it looks a little weird is because, again, we are bringing this kind of one at a time. Now, the only problem is trying to get all these here at the same time is a little bit tricky, because if I try to just select all of them like this and then just put my thing here and then hit F5, as you can see, it doesn't quite work out that well. So that's why I'm kind of doing it one at a time over here. There we are. Now, if you have a good idea of how long your animation is going to be, you could always do this ahead of time. Yep, I don't need this layer 1, so gone. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take, again, put my character in more of a defaultish pose. And let's see. There we are. Okay. And just for the sake of today's lecture, I'm just going to basically focus on the areas that I want to animate. So it's going to be the upper arm. Make sure I have the right layer selected. Okay, cool. And I'm only going to animate what is absolutely necessary. So let's see here. I'm going to create a motion tween for that upper arm, for this arm, and for the hand. Again, I'm just creating my motion tweens for each of these, just as an example. And yeah, so I'm going to keep these in place for about several seconds. So I can actually just move this. Just making sure if I'm moving that over, it basically stays there for a little bit. But anyway, worst case scenario, you could, if I'm going to keep it here for about half a second, I could just basically move these back and forth very quickly. Yeah, I'll try that one more time. Making sure there's no movement. Yep, that's good. And the hand, same thing. Just move it one increment back, one increment forward. Just one of the simpler ways that it could be done. And I'm going to take it for about half a second to move the arm up. So I can basically move this up like so. Move this area up like so. And move this area up like so. I'm just going to make sure it works. And it might not be a bad idea for me to move this just a smidge as well. I might have to move this a little bit later on as well. Yep, there we go. Not bad. Okay, and then I could just have it go back and forth very slowly. So I'm making sure that I'm at the halfway point. And this area over here can go up a little bit. Oop. Undo's your friend, by the way. And I could bring it back. So I'm going to take a quick look at it. Just hit a quick little play. So it might have been a little slow, but that's all right. But I'm going to bring this back down a little bit. Yeah, that should do it. Yeah, I'll bring this back even more. But that's pretty much all there is to it when it comes to making this animation. Yep, there we are. That's way better. Cool. Okay. Now that the animation is done, I can now go back to my scene 1, and I can basically put this in for the 2 seconds. So again, I would just go into here, go into insert frame. This doesn't even require any animation at all. Just basically put it to the area where it would basically stop, and that would be it. So that's basically, again, how we could approach this. Now, before I go any further, I am going to change my background so it's a little bit closer to what I need this to be in. So I'm going to put this to the proper resolution. I'll put this to 720. So in this case, we're not even going to be seeing the entire body. When this is actually rendered out proper, we're only going to see everything that's inside of here. And some of the things that's kind of neat about this is even though this animation is about 2 seconds, we could actually make it so that the animation is paused a little bit, or if we want to make another cut or something like that, we could basically make another cut by basically making another one of these and putting that in another layer right afterwards. So we could call this animation 1. And then I can make another one of these. This is one of the reasons why we have our original prime, because we're going to make all our copies from this. And yeah, actually, sorry, we'll duplicate that. Call this, let's see, what will we call this? Test 2. And what we'll do for the second animation is we'll just double click in here and yeah, zoom out a little bit. And I won't do too much with this one because I basically want to make sure that, yeah, there we go. Because I want to make sure that we don't take too much time with this. Okay, so we're going to just set this up as if this person over here was excited to see the other person. So just for the sake of time, I'll just put this over here. And there might be some cases where you might actually have to move the arm a little bit and so on to basically make it work. But I think we're okay. So I'll do the same thing again, basically for about 2 seconds. Even if I don't use it, I could always delete the extra areas later. But I'll just be a little extra safe, because again, better safe than sorry. Let's see. 1, 2. I'm just doing the calculations in my head. And second thought, I'm going to put it to 36 frames. So I'm hitting F5, again, a little refresher over here, to get all these in here. Yeah, it is going to look a little weird until we get all that stuff in here. But the nice thing about this is it pretty much has all the information it needs because of what we did previously. That's one of the reasons why I wanted everyone to take a week to do this. Because again, if you get your rig structure looking right, it saves you so much time. So, okay, so the areas that are going to animate are the upper arm. So once again, selecting the arm, go to Modify, and I'm going to go to Insert, Create Motion Tween, and go to the other arm, Create Motion Tween. And I'll even do the same thing for the other arms. Insert, Create Motion Tween, Insert, Create Motion Tween. And again, if you want to make it a little bit more looser, again, the more stuff that you add a motion tween to, the easier that potentially can be. But I'll be able to even show you some other stuff that can make this process a little bit easier. But we'll get to that. And I'm even going to add a motion tween to the face. Oop, that is an undo. I wonder if I hit the right one. Okay, well, I'm going to keep it to this one for now. That's kind of strange that it basically did that, but okay. Well, I'll get back to that one in a little bit later, I suppose, but interesting. But what we'll do here is I'll show the animation of the body, so at least we can focus our efforts on that. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to animate the arms going up and down. Now here's a neat little trick that we're going to be taking a look at for the body motion when it comes. When we can actually have an animation loop repeatedly over and over again. So basically what we could do here is we could have our arms kind of go upwards and downwards and basically make that loop indefinitely. In fact, looking at this, maybe I might want to get rid of some of my keys. So that does not do. Let's not do. And I'm putting this down over here. Let's see. I'm just basically removing some frames that I don't think are as necessary. Because again, I'm just having the arms kind of flail up and down. Okay, so going back, I'm just adding my main key here. Just basically going up and down like that. Doing the same thing here. Worst case scenario, I could always put it back manually. There we are. And I'm holding shift while I'm doing this, and just make sure that your keys are coming in. Just making sure that's there. If it doesn't come in right away, then just try it again. Until it's there, where it needs to be. Once you see the key, because I can see the key right over here, just put it back into place. By the way, I'm holding shift when I'm doing this, because this will basically make the keyframe in increments. And I'm bringing this back down, doing the same thing here, down, then up. Okay, so I believe that should be all my areas. So I'm going to, what I'm going to do here is halfway here, around the 12 area. I'm going to bring the arms up. And I'm just going to bring that up a little bit. And this up a little bit. Okay. And looks like I need to bring this one over. Interesting. So the other ones seem to go okay. This one did not, unfortunately, but I can bring this back easy enough. There we are. Cool. And if I want to add a little bit of extra motion to this, something you could do is add a little bit of drag to your hands. So I'm basically bringing this down a little bit as it's rising. And you'll notice the motion will look better when you do it this way. And as it's falling down, I'm also going to add a little bit of drag on that as well. So as it's going down, the hands are going to go up a little bit. I'm even going to bring this up a little bit too. So let's take a look at how this would look. Yeah, that's not too bad. Okay, cool. And so with that, the animation's done, at least for what I want to do here. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go back to my scene, and I'm going to actually make a new layer. But instead of having the animation start right away, I'm actually going to have the animation start on this frame. So let's see here. So this is the layer 1. Making sure it's the right one. Yep, there we go. So this is my blank frame. I'm going to create a new one over here. And I'm going to choose the option Insert Blank Keyframe. Cool. Now I'm going to put this actually longer than I need this to be. I'm going to put this for about 4 seconds. Right click. And then insert just frame. And I'm going to take my test 2 in here. Now here's a neat little trick that I was talking about before. Now that I've added that in, and now that it's longer, if I hit the play here, of course this is basically stopping exactly where it needs to be, you'll see that the motion actually repeats again and again. So again, we have the first one, And we have this area where the character is having her arms going up and down like so. And that, again, the nice thing about this is if we need anything to repeat over and over again, this is basically how you can approach this. This is going to be a huge help when we start doing the walk cycles. So I'm going to demonstrate this momentarily, but I wanted to at least show you all the things you could do with this to basically make this work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end the video, at least at this point, and the next one I'm going to be focusing the efforts on just making a character walk. But at the very least, from what we learned from this video, we were able to take the character, basically put him or her into a symbol, like what we just did over here, and from this main prime character, we were able to make these other little tests to basically show what we're doing over here. And with that, again, we can make a whole library of animation that can be repeated over and over again. Remember some of the stuff that you might see from Hanna-Barbera. If you basically make a walk cycle here, which again we're going to be doing, you could actually have that do a walk cycle for as long as you want. And again, if necessary, and this is something I'm going to show as we progress, you could even make your character bigger or smaller. So for example, I could basically make her the entire screen over here. Yeah, there we are. And I could even animate her afterwards. But more on that a little bit later. Well, actually, I'm going to show the motion I'm going to show the motion momentarily. And hopefully you'll find that the walk cycle that we're going to be making will be helpful for your scene. So we'll leave it at that for now, and I'll see you soon.